Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. Our teacher for this week is Tara Brach. And the title of this morning's message is You Are Gaining Access to a Whole New Level of Potential. Good morning, Stefan. Hello. Awesome seeing you. Let's get into today's message. Good morning, Danae. Good morning, Sunmay. Awesome seeing your faces right here this morning. We all have those moments where the same negative thoughts and patterns keep popping up, hindering our growth and happiness. This feeling of being trapped in a repetitive cycle is not a coincidence. Our brains are wired for efficiency and for familiar patterns, and even unhealthy ones can become ingrained over time. But what if there was a way to break free from this cycle and access a whole new level of potential? The answer lies in cultivating a powerful skill, which is witnessing your thoughts. The first thought from Tara Brach this morning says exactly that. Become a witness to your thoughts. Another thought from Tara Brach is, each time you meet an old emotional pattern with presence, your awakening to truth can deepen. Good morning, Antoinette. Happy Wednesday morning to you. I'll repeat that sentence again. Each time you meet an old emotional pattern with presence, your awakening to truth can deepen. There is less identification with the self in the story and more ability to rest in the awareness that is witnessing what is happening. You become more able to abide in compassion, to remember and trust your true home. Rather than cycling repetitively through old conditioning, you're actually spiraling towards freedom. I love how she describes it. She says, when you are able to become the observer, when you catch old emotional patterns with awareness, then slowly, you will be spiraling towards freedom. Have you had this kind of experience yet, where you are having thoughts and you realize that you're not caught up in the thinking, but it's like you are watching the thinking with just a little more distance? Where instead of feeling like I am drowning, you're almost looking down and seeing yourself having the experience. I can see that I feel like I'm being hit by wave after wave, struggling not to drown. If I can step outside myself and look at myself, then which part of me is doing this seeing? In Buddhist philosophy, there is a term for this. It is called wisely seeing. Seeing everything, but seeing it from a place of wisdom. With practice, it means that I step outside of my old automatic response, and I'm giving myself the opportunity to exercise actual freedom of choice, instead of letting an old program do my decision-making for me. Last thought from Tara Brach says, feeling compassion for ourselves in no way releases us from responsibility for our actions. Rather, it releases us from the self-hatred that prevents us from responding to our life with clarity and balance. I think it's worth reading this one more time for this specific reason. And I often encounter this, especially when I start working with a new client that has so many things that they're trying to deal with and want to make changes about. I think most of us, a lot of us get raised with a lot of judgment and criticism, and it starts feeling like judgment is necessary for us to make changes. If we don't judge ourselves, we won't be motivated to make changes. And the truth is that the opposite is what happens. What she's trying to say is, in our self-judgment, we're embracing a level of self-hatred that prevents us from responding to our life with clarity and balance. So feeling compassion for ourselves does not release us from responsibility for our actions. Can you take responsibility without self-judgment? Can you hold yourself accountable without self-criticism? I think that is exactly what love is. Become a witness to your thoughts. When you find yourself being able to see every part of you with acceptance, and also take responsibility for how you want to do things differently, then you do gain access to a whole new level of potential. If you're ready, you can close your eyes and let's float away on today's journey together, starting with the first few big breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and out. Take a deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in. And let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. As you breathe in, stretch out your spine, lift the top of your head toward the ceiling. And once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. With every exhale, soften. With every breath out, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders, and drop your head. While you continue your full body breathing, rising with every inhale and slowly falling with every exhale, we'll have a conversation around self-judgment and self-criticism. seems that it's quite normal to have the belief that in order to improve myself, in order to do better, I have to judge myself and criticize myself for the things I do wrong. And there's often a lot of sincerity in this misplaced belief, a fear that if I don't judge or criticize myself, then I won't take responsibility. I won't hold myself accountable unless I judge and criticize myself. The philosophy of becoming the witness to yourself. Wisely seeing, as Buddhist philosophy teaches. It explains quite clearly why judgment and criticism is counterproductive. In order to make true lasting changes, I have to be able to look at everything that is there, all of it. The pretty parts and also the ugly parts. And by the way, we get to a place and a point where there are no ugly parts anymore. But being able to see me, all of me, warts and all. This is where we need to start if we want to truly make changes. The problem with judgment and criticism is, while I'm trying to look at all of me, how will I see everything if a part of me feels ashamed? If a part of me feels guilty and tries to look away? And in the presence of my own judgment and my own criticism, part of me is trying to see and part of me is trying not to see, trying to look away. We truly step into the space of empowered change when we can take a look at everything without judging anything. If we can take responsibility and hold ourselves accountable without also trying to punish ourselves. How are you doing on this journey so far? Are you there yet? Can you take a look at all of you and also have no judgment, no criticism? Can you clearly see what to work on, what you would like to improve, without feeling the need to punish yourself? Today's journey is this practice. We'll put this into practical application in just a moment. For now, we have the last few breaths of this phase to do together, helping our bodies stretch and adjust and settle down into as much comfort as possible for the rest of our journey. Take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward and roll out your neck muscles. Forward and to the left. And forward and to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. . . 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23. 24. 25. 26. 27. 28. 29. 30. 31. 32. 33. 34. 35. 36. 37. 38. 39. 40. 41. 42. 43. 44. 45. 46. 47. 48. 49. 50. 51. 52. 53. 54. 55. 56. 57. 58. 59. 60. 61. 62. 63. 64. 65. 66. 67. 68. 69. 70. 71. 72. 73. 74. 75. 76. 77. 78. 79. 80. 81. 82. 83. 84. 85. 86. 87. 88. 89. 90. 91. 92. 93. 94. 95. 96. 97. 98. 99. 100. 101. 102. 103. 104. 105. 106. 107. 108. 109. 110. 111. 112. 113. 114. 115. 116. 117. 118. 119. 1 Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine. You can lean your upper body over to the left and also lean your upper body over to the right. One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, or at least as much as we are able to do that right now, we can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. If you don't have the time to sit for the whole meditation with us, then this is always a good place to stop. But if you are here for the whole journey, then we'll take the next few big breaths together. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel into your body. Feel softness slip in and settle in every part of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow through your body. Feel your shoulders slowly falling. Feel your body slowly softening. And feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath. But hold it only for as long as it feels easy, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, the topic with the theme of our meditation today is being the observer. Can you see yourself sitting there? Can you take a moment to witness yourself? Take a deep breath and dive deep inside. Take your next big breath. We're putting the idea, the philosophy of being the observer into a practical setting. And for this, I want you to search backwards in your memory for hopefully a recent example. And if you can't find a recent example, keep going back until you find any old example that stands out for you. What I'm asking you to search for is an instance where your own actions, your own reactions were less than helpful, less than ideal. It could be a moment where something or someone triggered you and you overreacted. Most of our examples come from an interaction with the people around us. Could be an interaction with a loved one, a family member, an interaction with a colleague, an interaction with a stranger, a waiter, a waitress, a cashier, or another driver on the road. Is there an example that comes up for you when looking back at it, your reaction was less than ideal? And if you could do it over again, you'd respond differently. If you have such an example, let's dive in. Let's have a look at that. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, see this scenario play out again. Watch it exactly as it happened, as if you are an outside observer now. Take your next big breath. Can you take a step outside yourself, zoom out, and observe yourself in that moment? Are you able to look at yourself in a moment where you are not proud of yourself, and also not judge yourself, not criticize yourself? To pay real attention to this moment, could you perhaps remember what you were wearing? Could you see the clothes or the color of the clothes you were wearing in that moment? Take your next big breath. Can you zoom out and take a look at your face, your facial expression in that moment, and remind yourself of the words you spoke, if you did? What words came out of your mouth in that moment? Take your next big breath. Can you take a look at your body language in that moment? What were you doing with your hands? How were your arms moving in that moment? Take your next big breath. And most important of all is understanding where you were in your inner world, in your mind before that reaction happened. Just before you reacted, just before you spoke. What were the thoughts going through your mind? And I'll ask this in a specific way. Just before you spoke, just before you acted, what was it that you were afraid was going to happen? Your reaction was to prevent something from happening. What is it that you were afraid was going to happen if you don't react, if you don't say something? Take your next big breath. Our overreactions never come from a bad place. In a moment of pressure, it simply comes from a place that tries to prevent the bad thing from happening. And And very often, because we're in our survival nervous system, and the only things we have access to in that moment is fighting or running, very often our act becomes an overreaction in that moment. But let's rehearse this. Let's be the observer that wants to create a better outcome for if this were to happen again. We know we can't go back and do over anything, but we can plan for doing better next time. So for this exercise, just imagine the same scenario plays itself out again. If you find yourself in the same situation again, what is the conversation you want to have inside of you before you speak, before you act? How is it that you want to speak to yourself before you respond? Take your next big breath. If you have the opportunity to do this over, what would you want your body language to look like as you respond? Take your next big breath. If you had the opportunity to do it over, what would you want the expression on your face to be as you respond? Take your next big breath. And if you had the opportunity to have the same experience again, how would the words coming out of your mouth be different? How would you speak differently in your response? Take your next big breath. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, slipping out of the breath holding space and into the next. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel softness slip into your body and settle in every cell of your body. One more big breath in and hold. As you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back and even lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. If you keep doing this exercise, if you keep becoming the observer of your past reactivity, and as the observer, practice, rehearse a future, wiser response, then the moment will come where you find yourself under pressure, being triggered, and realize, I'm also at the same time observing myself in this moment. And I can clearly see the choice I have in this moment. I can see that I can allow an old pattern to repeat itself, or I can choose to respond in a new way and create new programming. Sometimes, even when we see that choice, we might be too triggered to know how to respond in a healthier way. And often the healthiest response is, you're going to have to give me a moment. I'm going to have to take a minute to think about this. I'll get back to you in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, later today, tomorrow perhaps. And even just that, catching yourself and realizing that you have to step away and address this again when you feel calmer. That is a huge break in an old pattern. I want to read to you again these few thoughts from Tara Brach. She says, become a witness to your thoughts. She says, each time you meet an old emotional pattern with presence, your awakening to truth can deepen. There is less identification with the self in the story and more ability to rest in the awareness that is witnessing what's happening. You become more able to abide in compassion, to remember and trust your true home, rather than cycling repetitively through old conditioning. You are actually now spiraling towards freedom. And then importantly, she says, feeling compassion for ourselves. This in no way releases us from responsibility for our actions. Rather, it releases us from the self-hatred that prevents us from responding to our life with clarity and balance. Can you look at your worst mistakes and not judge or criticize yourself for them? Can you address the things you want to change without feeling like you need to punish yourself for them? If you can, you are unlocking a new level of potential. The ability to always ask yourself, what is a better way of responding? And always reaching for that wiser response without guilt and shame ever holding you back. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you and I invite you to say yours. Let's take a deep breath in. Thank you for this beautiful message from Tara Brach. Become the witness to your thoughts. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for a moment of reflecting, being able to look back at a reaction that was probably not helpful and rehearse a wiser response for the future. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to look at every part of me without judgment, without criticism. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning to understand that I don't need those old tools, judgment and criticism and punishment, in order to make changes, in order to do better. Asking for guidance and wisdom is perfectly adequate to continuously try and do better. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for being a part of our journey today. Good morning, Irma. Thanks for popping in. Hope you had a bit of time to sit down with us. Anne-Marie, very good morning. Always good to see you with us. Thank you, Antoinette. Wishing you a beautiful day. Hey, good evening on your side of the world, Pepe. Took me a moment to remember which timeline you're in. It's good to see you. Thank you, Danae. Have a beautiful day. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Sunmari. And whoever else is in the room with us. Lots of love to you all. See you again soon. Ciao, ciao.